Okay, here goes. All right, everybody, this is something a little bit different than what I normally do. Well, actually, I've been doing some interviews with different people. So this is JCK here, and I have the most beautiful, I'm so happy to speak to her again, the most beautiful, beautiful woman, Sylvia Rands, who is an amazing voice coach, voice teacher, singer, actress from Four Elements Voice, and she's talking to us from New Zealand. And I know Sylvia. I met you nearly 23 years ago, Sylvia. Did you want to?
Long time ago, JC.
Way back when I was studying theatre at university,
yes,
theatre production, and you were my voice teacher. So, do you want to introduce yourself, Sylvia, and what just tell us about yourself and the journey you've been on, and about what you do, and then we'll talk about everything else in between.
Yeah, thanks, JC. It's so extraordinary to connect with you again. Talk about all these ancient connections.
I know.
And divine timing. It's pretty amazing. Yeah. So I met JC when I was living in Sydney, and actually I was living in the beautiful Blue Mountains and commuting down.
Yeah.
That was really life-changing for me. They are very much a spiritual home for me, those mountains. So I love that you are still there, and I feel this connection with you there, being there. Yeah. So my work's been a journey. I started off as a very traditional actor and doing voice as part of my acting training, and then I studied in America, and each time I took it in the study and started sharing it with people, I would go, but that's not quite enough. That's okay. So we're working on naturalism, and that's beautiful, but what about the singing voice? You can't work with the voice unless you work with the singing voice. And then the divine drops into my lap, a couple of people from Germany teaching this absolutely exquisite healing with sound work. So then I do that training, and I'm going, whoa, yeah, this is it. That was probably the major turning point for me in my life, with the Lichtenberg Institute, which people may be familiar with. Very profound body of study and deep understanding from the most anatomical to the most metaphysical. So, and of course I veer towards the metaphysical. So whereas my teacher, her dad, she's a medical intuitive, and her dad was a doctor, so she had a lot of the more anatomical knowing. But
I remember both from our studies.
Yes. And that would have been, like, honestly, that would have been happening to me. I would have been so fresh with that when I met you. Wow. Yeah, so my life would have been being blown apart at that very moment. Yeah, because I came to Australia to do the job in Melbourne at the drama school, and then I commuted back for my training. So I was like arriving back with all these sort of epiphanies and complete shifts in the way that I had to, that I then wanted to live my life, based on different levels of magnetism and just all the understandings that I was gaining from the work. And then I was like, well, how do I deliver this in this sort of 3D format of, university? So, hence moments like us, as you said, retiring into the next room to do a bit of healing. I'm sure that wasn't on my schedule. But, that was outside work hours, just to let everybody know. So during that training that I did in 1998, what the young ones call higher powers came online, in the sense that my clairsentience kicked in, and we did a session towards the end of the training where we laid our hands on each other's bodies, and it was like I was just seeing the entire stories of people in their bodies, and it was so extraordinary. And I could read, and it was a lot of it was an imagery, Anyway, to cut a long story short, my teachers didn't necessarily approve of me taking this into a healing modality. So I just had to strike out on my own. And over the last 20 years, that modality has now developed into a very trusted for me and very totally, it always has been, divinely guided modality of healing that I use, which is, I call it sound healing. It hasn't got a flashier name than that as yet, but where basically the energy that is held in a person's body, I will receive it as frequency and sound waves, and then I will be toning back to the person what their body requires at this present moment to update it. So as we know, healing isn't healing, and it's not me doing it. I'm just,
you're a conduit.
So what I've so what I've learned over the years is, I say to the person, we need a goal, somewhere spirit will do 50%, you're doing the other other half of it, and I'm just bringing it through. So but it's what I love about the work is that it's so I have been very blown away by the magic of it over the years, and I think the ultimate offering that I think is relevant to us all at this time is that I do believe the one thing the voice teaches is that there's a saying, that every voice is unique, but that's real, like every physiological structure, every way a voice manifests in each person's body is truly unique. And I have, had my hands in the mud and in the air and in the ethers and in the gold, untangling this for so many years now, that the subtleties of this are so beautiful. And what we're talking about is a very deep intertwining. When we say the voice is multidimensional, which all my teachers have said to me, Kristen Linklater, who is one of the voice gurus, recently passed away.
Oh, I remember her work from our studies. I actually remember that name.
Exactly. She was a total pioneer, and her teacher again before her, Iris Warren. So this work is truly multidimensional because it can work. It works on the psychological, on the physiological, on the spiritual. And so, for example, even when we talk about, which is the sort of the mainstay of the overview I give people about my work, is that, we have this 1 to 3.5 octave range, which is our voice, from our lowest note to our highest note. And the ego self sort of sits in a very limited part of that, and we get all attached. I have a soft voice, I have a loud voice, I have a very high voice, I have and some people say, I've come to work on this thing that's going on in my voice, but then when you challenge them, you find out they're actually really attached to the thing that so there's a difference between wanting to be individual and accepting that we are unique, if you know what I mean. So this whole spectrum to me is more about opening up to the possibility of true communion with our higher self. I mean, if we can just get our heads around the fact that we came in as human, and we've taken on all this shit and this programming, and we've been really dumbed down, and we've taken on a lot of basically what I just end up calling rust, because I think that was Kristen's word, that parts of our range get rusted over, usually where we hold emotional trauma.
Yes.
And as we clear that, this range opens and our beings start to flower. Yeah. And at this time on the planet, the flowering of our being involves very honest work on the shadow self, and the need to step into a very conscious and willing embracing of our higher alignment, whatever you want to call it, higher power, God, source. But the voice is one of the major gifts that lets us really open and let these higher energies in actually quite a mundane way. Like if we breathe, if we breathe and we ground
Mm.
and we open our channel,
Yeah.
and we make the range of sound,
Yeah.
and we free our bodies, you would be amazed how good you feel,
Yes.
even after doing the simplest conscious work on that level. Yeah.
And it does open up, and you can feel it, because when there's tension in the voice, you know there's tension in the body. I know that for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think I've really been noticing since COVID, I knew I would get it, but I'm fascinated by it. These really subtle levels of contraction that are happening in people's bodies and in what they feel they are allowed to say, and this almost like getting the image of a plastic, those shrink wrap plastics sort of gone over. And so now it's like you've got to sort of say, hey, we can get that off.
Yeah.
And yes, you're allowed to shake your body and you're allowed to make these sounds. It's pervaded in very subtle ways. I mean, some people not, of course, but some people, yes. So
do you think
that was
do you think that that's why, because I have I'm still fascinated why people have resonated with me or with other people that are out there that are very vocal. I get every day an email. I don't want to make this about me, but I'm just using me as an example because I live my life and I know me. So I'm just asking and reflecting back to your statements that people say to me, you're a breath of fresh air. I needed that. When I heard your voice, something in me changed. Okay, so is it because during this time of lockdown and oppression, so many people have lost their voice, and that some of us out there in the public eye have dared to speak up and use our voice openly, and and that must be and that must be through frequency or through resonance, that they're resonating, because they always say that word, I resonate with you. So they're finding their voice by matching or witnessing or watching and listening,
or being opened by, literally being impacted and opened by your energy. And I think that the gift that you are giving us all is totally about that, darling, totally about that. Because so for me, you are, very much bringing forth, as indeed I've represented all my life and embodied the return, shall we say, or the birthing of the divine feminine on the planet. And you are this profound and glorious embodiment of that. And, and so, and in terms of the vocal structure, the deeper tones of the voice, actually, even though society has linked them to the male voice, these are actually the deep female elements. These are the place of the deep feminine within us. And you have these very beautiful, lower, earthy, and you also have a sort of a no bullshit thing. And this is the earth element, which is the place we get our grounding, is really about just standing in what is and standing in the present moment. And if you think about most of what you share with us and where you're coming from, there's a lot of times that you say, hey, I'm just in the moment now, and I don't know what I said yesterday, but this is, this is where I am at now, so this, and I'm allowed to do that, and this is actually how the earth element works, which is
it's immediacy.
we have got out of being in that present moment. And as Charlie Freak says in all his beautiful work, this is the poaching by the left brain. This is the ancient conditioned poaching by the left brain, which is how I start every class and every workshop is, are you sitting in the idea of your voice as a tool, something that you use, or in the idea of your voice as a place of being and it being you? And this is always the most fertile and wonderful discussion for a group to have. Because, and I just say, well, all the teaching that I have received, suggests that the right brain is the fertilization point for embodiment of voice, and it's linked and to the creative. And so I would suggest the people that I'm working with in workshops and in my voice coaching that we focus on the right brain aspects of sound, which are, in short, open sound, which I call toning. And this invigorates the whole physical system in a particular way. And the main goal of that is to get the physical body turned on so much that we get out of our brain. It's very hard to stop that brain. Now, coming back to you, because your voice, you are very immediate, and your voice is got the tones of grounding. It's also got the water element tones, which is, hey, I'm feeling this, and now I'm feeling this, and now I'm feeling this. So, and it's quite rare for people to do that in public. And this could be part of the subconscious opening that you are doing for us. Because as I say, it's all been a bit shrink-wrapped, our feelings. I mean, they're shrink-wrapped anyway, and COVID's just come in and double shrink-wrapped them. So you're going, whoa, I'm feeling this, and I'm feeling this, and don't say that to me, and do, it's like there's if you say that to me, I'm going to feel this. So it's very transparent.
It's vulnerable.
And I think
I allow that vulnerability.
It's very vulnerable. Yeah. And your first posts, if you remember, I think what was so extraordinary about your initial offerings was that, and I think this is quite a profound state, that in terms of the journey with the voice, which to me is also a spiritual path in its own right, is that you were in that place of, this is what I know. I offer from this place of knowing. It is my core truth. I'm not quite sure how it's going to hang with you guys out there, but at this moment I have to offer my core truth. So earth, one aspect of this grounded element is really beautiful humility. And I felt that you were really sitting in that. You weren't saying this is not true or this is not powerful. You were saying this is my truth and I offer it. And that's, if we can all touch into that place at some time of, I even just did it with some students last night. It's like, what is that core want deep in your being? Because what I discovered in my own process, because of course I'm continually working and doing my own clearing and processing and growth, is fairly recently I discovered, I think when you talk about the chakra system, it may have been the implant system that sits over our chakra system, because I do work with the chakra system quite deeply. In fact, my voice modality is sort of based on it, but I have come to understand through your work and linking it to others and listening that it has been poached in the sense that we had an implant system based over it.
I think so. I think that's what it is. And I'm talking about the implant, not necessarily the energy points. The energy points are there regardless.
I think they are, and certainly in my inner work in meditation and with my galactic guidance, I feel them very strongly. But I definitely thought, I just think after all these years of working with it, another layer of it moved off, and I had this revelation that I am allowed to want what I want. I know it's silly. For years I've been working with Abraham Hicks and all that beautiful work that says, just work out, you need to work out what you want. You can't do anything if you don't know what you want, which is water element, which is your sacral center. Like I will have what I want. I move towards what I want. I will voice what I want. From voicing it, I will manifest what I want. But if you don't actually have the core belief that you're going to be allowed it, that you are allowed to even want it, that you are allowed to, you could say command it on the energetic levels.
That's interesting.
Command it, demand it, expect it, all those core manifesting words. Yeah.
That makes sense, because when I try to dissect my journey and I say to people, what I did was I just said, you know what, I'm going to swear. I go, fuck it, fuck everyone. I'm going with what I want. This is literally what happened. It was like releasing obligations, because I think what people do when they are too scared to demand what they want, they are attached to the obligations of the 3D world and the relationships and associations that they believe they owe something to. And what I've noticed is that those who get what they want, those who manifest what they want, or I'm not even going to say what they want, those who manifest the things that they envision, or there's a drive in them and they propel themselves forward and ride that flow, right? They're riding that, and then abundance comes to them in whatever form it is. It is because they've let go of any obligation to attachments and they just go with it. They let go and they say fuck it and they go with it. And that's what you're saying is we allow ourselves to, because when you don't allow yourself to receive or to have or to want, it's because you were conditioned to have restriction. You were conditioned to say that's too much, or you were conditioned to believe that you do not deserve. And so part of standing in your truth and speaking your voice and owning your voice and doing the things that I've done, and this is all part of why I'm intuitive. Listen, and I want to say this, I'm going to use the word this is not an ego trip. It's because I'm explaining my experience. This is not about let's talk about JC all the time. I'm just using my experience as an example, and I feel that that's part of my role, is to be an example to others. Okay, so the reason why intuition
but it's
happens,
not just keep going.
The reason why intuition happens is because you need those elements that you're talking about. You need the vulnerability, you need to be able to be grounded and stand in your truth, and to be able to just let flow everything and take risk. This is what people completely, because it is the vulnerability, it's a risk. And it's a risk I'm willing to take. I'm telling you, in normal life, I'm not a risk taker. I don't do drugs. I don't speed. I don't drive a car fast. I don't do risk-taking behavior. But when it comes to being and speaking and standing in truth, I take risks all the time. I don't care. When I say I don't care, I mean all of those societal things that have restricted you, to me, mean nothing. Okay. It is about channeling and presenting and allowing a very clear vessel to release information and to channel it and to give to others, because the ultimate thing is in communication of this information that is there for all of us, this universal communication of information that can be accessed from source. It is only restricted by our 3D reality and our conditions and our programming. And you must step away from that programming and those conditions and those things that came into your life, and all these little voices that had said to you as a kid, you're not good enough, or you need to keep quiet, or you need to be, all of that, just I cut that off. And the minute I gave myself permission and I said, enough, I'm speaking. Because my whole life in my family structure has been, you're not listening to me. Why aren't you listening to me? That's been my whole existence. I've grown up in a family full of loudmouths who talk over each other. And I never got a word in edgewise. And, people who were self-absorbed and they weren't listening and they weren't hearing me. And I would just shut myself off and not talk to them because they weren't listening anyway. And it got to the point in my life in this year was just like, enough. I'm done with being silenced. Cut those obligations off and allow it to flow. And that's when you are fearless and vulnerable and you stand strong and you take that risk. That's when the voice flows, I think. And that's why that immediacy and that that instinct, the gut instinct,
Yes.
going with that.
Yes.
This also
Yes.
is, so
Yes.
I've had to record a few things this week. I'm doing a recording. It's going to be good, and you heard it, right? It's going to be a new track. I'm doing, we're going to set it to music. So me and Mark have got together and we're doing this thing. And when I had to read this whole thing of words, I just go for it. You know, you just go for it. You don't think. You've got to,
no.
You don't think of the technical stuff. And I think that's what happens with voice. You know, people start thinking in their head of, oh, hang on, I have to remember that. And I have to remember, no, you just go. And then I've had to read a 43-minute MP3, 43-minute PDF that I wrote.
Yeah.
I just flowed with it, you know, and I don't overthink. So back to allowing things to flow. When you allow those things to flow, then abundance comes to you. That's another thing I've realized, is that the key to abundance is letting go. And the key
I totally agree,
the key to abundance, the key to receiving what it is you envision, is about letting go. So everything that we're talking about, and this is why I wanted you on, because I didn't just want to talk about the spiritual aspects and the therapeutic aspects of what you do and about the technical things about voice. I wanted to use that as I wanted to use your experience and your understanding of the voice as a collective call out to everyone out there in this time and space during ascension, because it is about finding your voice. Because I still receive emails from people saying, I'm too scared to speak up for myself. I'm being silenced. And so what ends up happening is we've got these people out there who are restricted, and I'll stop talking soon. Just let me get this out and then I'll let you talk.
No, this is great.
I have these people out there who are feeling restricted. They're too embarrassed to speak up. We're being censored and silenced by the media, by our own social media, which is a media for the people. And it was supposed to be a voice for the people. It was supposed to be freedom of speech. And all of that stuff restricted us from our expression. And why is expression and expectation so important? Because so when we speak, we enact or manifest, right? And so when we have this restrictive thing come in saying, for example, and this is a question I get all the time from people, when is it going to happen? When, right? When you add that to your vocabulary, you add doubt, and you add, it cuts the flow of that energy. Does that make sense? So when we say when, it actually cuts the flow of what's happening. So if I'm channeling something, or another intuitive is channeling very sacred source information, and it might come across as comedic, but we're actually tapping into source, which it taps into all that is. And we're explaining it to you, which is why you resonate with it. And we say, we see this positive future, we see this happening, we see this coming to pass. And then you come in and you go, when? You chop that, and that creates a restriction on that abundance or that flow.
Contraction,
Contraction, right? So what I want to say to people is that when you just allow, without doubt, you allow that sort of access to this information, and you go within and you do meditation, for example, then that information will flow through you, and you don't second guess yourself. You don't do any of that. And that's where intuition comes in. And this is why intuition is a huge part of this. It's a huge part of expression, because I feel like I'm rambling, but I'm kind of making sense to myself. But the intuition, the reason why people say, I want to do what you do. So they get into the technical thing. They'll go and study remote viewing, and they'll go and study meditation, but they're all up here in their head.
Exactly.
And it's the same with voice coaching, right? I bet you get people who I want to be a singer. I want to be a singer, Sylvia. So can you teach me, what do I have to do with and they're up here instead of just being and in the body.
Totally.
So
let's talk
about all of that.
Yeah, fabulous, fabulous. So where to start? I think I'm going to start with where you sort of started and work backwards,
Mm-hmm.
which is the idea of letting go, which for me, the word surrender. This
Surrender.
has been a very profound moment in my spiritual evolution, and I learned it through the voice work, and there are various processes to do with magnetism, again,
Mm-hmm.
or what Charlie, the idea of voice, using it magnetically and stimulating the right brain specifically. There are processes. And at that point, the whole I must do, I must go, I define myself by doing, gets challenged. And if you are truly wanting that transformation, you will at that point start to release it, because your body has known it and felt it, what it is to allow this very blissful, deep feminine receiving, allowing, which I had never had in my life, because I, you know, in a big family, I just coped by, you know, being very shiny and probably very loud, and, you know, dealing with all those other voices in the way that every person does. So for me, this permission to become much more internal and to really start developing my inner standing and has been a very huge transition, which I was gifted through the voice work. So this surrender is something which just is a word until it can become embodied. And, you know, I think there are a lot of people talking about, yes, we want to do that, we want to go to the right brain, we want to do this. But what I think, there will be many modalities that offer this, but I know that the voice work offers it too, is a very specific unraveling and guidance as to how. So when you are in flow and you are bringing up this source information through you and from you, that is a profound gift to us. There are others giving us a lot of information out there, as my I, and I would suggest every other person is like this. Our job, as everybody has told us, is to sift, to sort, to research. But ultimately for me, it's to feel deeply into what resonates with my truth. And sometimes I may run with something for a little while and I feel free after a few weeks to go, yeah, I'll keep that bit of it, but that's not resonating anymore. I mean, I am free to, and I need to constantly update my own reference systems. But when people say to me, oh, you're just taking anything, that is very untrue, because it is coming from a very deep resonance in my being, which frankly, I've spent my entire adult life crafting and working on something that I can trust. I have made so many mistakes. I've been queen of naive, and, you know, in my openness, because I am very open, I've made all of those sort of mistakes over the years, you know, certainly like I haven't got it right. But as a result, I have been able to refine through my mistakes and my, you know, muck-ups, and sort of distill a truth that I do trust and respect now. So I think when the when question comes in, what the earth element offers, which is the same place where we put our feet on the ground, align our bodies over our feet, we feel our weight, we stand in the present moment, we put our hands on our belly and we breathe into our belly. And we, at the same time as doing that, you are connecting as a woman with your womanhood, as a man with your manhood, because it's that center that defines that gender aspect. And we stand in what we value. We stand in our whakapapa, you know, in New Zealand here, our lineage. We carry our ancestors with us, but we are very much simultaneously cleansing that, moving into the present moment and creating our own futures. Now, if we are still enough with that, and if we understand that to do a full renewing, self-loving and self-renewing breath takes time, which is the ultimate challenge of any public speaker and actor, which is to understand that when they get up in front of other people, I have a right to be here, is the biggest belief that people don't have. That's been stripped from us by our programming. Our sense of innate worthiness, our sense that I do have a right to have a voice, is part of what's been taken from us in the programming. So the very first place is to very just deeply move into, you know, I am worthy, I am enough. Whatever I offer is enough. Yeah. Now, part of that, though, is that it's like, for me at this time on the planet, so certain people will feel their mission is to speak out at this time, which clearly I would say, you know, has what's happened for you, and possibly may happen more for me in the future. But, you know, but others, that's not their job. It's to hold the truth, or to anchor light. And so this earth element, this deep breathing, this lying down, this relaxing, this letting deep love and pleasure into your life allows to break the cycle, this little mouse on the wheel cycle of the left brain, which goes, no, you must do. You are not valid unless you do. You are. And so it sounds very simplistic, because right brain remedies always sound simplistic to the conditioned left brain, to the left brain, which says things have to be intelligent, structured, they need to have an end result that gives you a big tick. You know, there's a format of left brain learning which says this can't be real learning unless it shows up in this way. Yeah. So what the voice does is it says, we need you to get out of the head, because if you remain here in this thinking brain, every time you speak, what we call the, you know, you can give it your own name, inner critic, objective voice. One of my colleagues once said, yeah, this voice often has a big stick attached, which I think is hilarious, because it's a really good description of it. So we're doing something, and the watcher part of us, which we think is, the left brain tells us is absolutely necessary. So we're always safe, we're always in control, we're always monitored, actually has a big stick attached going, no, you did wrong, beat yourself up now, beat yourself up again now, you know. So we never move into satisfaction, that simple sense of, I'm okay being who I am, and I own who I am. And I'm going to make mistakes, because spontaneous speaking that's just going to happen, but I'm okay being who I am. And this discipline of moving out of this controlling brain and into embodied truth is, I think, what we're all seeking a pathway into at this time. And you do it totally like a train through your modeling to us this amazing instinct coming from deep source knowledge, and along with your personality and everything your personality's going through about that feels good and that doesn't feel good, and then you drop it down again into your truth center and go, watch it. And, you know, so we're getting a dance of all the elements. You know, we're getting, the vulnerability comes from the air element, which is heart centered, and that's more like the child. So as you say, our children, most of my clients, you know, we're working with childhood trauma from being silenced, or, I mean, that's the simplistic classic one, but there are many, many, many flavors of that. And so it's about really spending time with our little inner, most of my work at the moment will involve connecting to my little inner one, your inner girl or your inner boy, and checking in the heart state and actively giving them the love they need, and starting a dialogue with this little inner one. And this again makes you understand that whatever is going to happen in the world around me, what is collapsing, the ground that's being ripped out from under my feet, the new world that is building, all of those things, I'm going to be safe because I'm the adult now and I can look after my little one. Yeah. And my heart, it's going to be safe to open my heart, and it's going to be safe to speak from my heart.
Yeah.
And as we get braver and braver, because it's all about courage, and you are also modeling that to us hugely, it's all about the courage of the female, the warrior. Mm-hmm. We can start to reach out to each other, you know, and in heart-centered community. And so this vulnerability of the heart, the courage to stand our ground, the courage, I mean, I think at the absolute core of my work, and I believe the lesson for the whole planet at the moment, is to honor our feelings. Yeah. And when we need to question, when we need to go into the when, and people just transfer all their feelings to you, as you say, as though you can solve it somehow for them. It's about bring it back in and just simply name it. What are you feeling? Is there doubt? Is there fear? Is there, you know, and what's JC just helped you with? You know, what she just told you, to own that, or to...
Well, just before we came on, there was I saw a notification. I put did you see my little song that I did? That was impromptu.
No, I didn't. No.
Okay, I made an impromptu song to a doo-wop tune. And it just went for 1 minute, and it was there is no vaccine. There is no vaccine. There is no vaccine. And I just did this impromptu thing because no matter how many times I had addressed it and had explained what I had tapped into and how the mainstream media is saying one thing, and, you know, and what intuitives are feeling is completely different than what the mainstream is showing.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
And trying to assuage this, or trying to get people to understand that there is this, you're safe, it's okay, you're safe. You know, what they're trying to make you afraid of is not happening. Just be aware of that, and to trust that. And I'm putting this message out there, and it just wasn't getting through to people. So I made this really quick little ditty, like a jingle, and I put that, and, you know, I know everyone's like, oh, that's so funny, you know, yeah, I get it, this is real, this, you know, I'm so glad you said it. And then you get this one message this morning of someone going, I don't believe it, because somebody's, you know, even after all that, somebody's still doubting, and they're going, but somebody told me that there's a whole stack of vaccines in a fridge and blah, 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 and they're ready to go. And I'm like, you know, this is the left brain person, right? This is the person who cannot embody, feel, accept, understand, dissect, or even discern, like, because even research and or discerning information that you are given, it's not just a left brain thing, because that requires intuition as well, that discernment.
Totally. And
they're not they're not doing the lateral thinking either, you know, because when we, you know, I studied fine arts and I studied theatre, and we're constantly doing lateral thinking, you know, constantly having to look at things on a different way, right? So analysing data is part of that, you know, and embodying it and going, hey, that makes sense, blah, blah, blah. Left brain people won't accept that information. So I know instantly when I see a message like that, they're not a troll, they're just literally stuck in that left brain, right? And so that's the doubt.
Literally. And that is hard, I think, for everybody who is holding, you know, sort of the positive reality at this time, shall we say, moving, you know, that the light is winning, has won, is leading this deep knowledge, which is simply just, for me,
it's in the core of your
knowledge. So, and people can attempt to say, but why and how and who, and you're this and you're that and everything, but I can't explain it any more than I know it. And I mean, I know why I know it, because I have spent a life, you know, I come from various strands of very practical Christian upbringings, you know, Salvation Army and Methodism. I was never brainwashed, thank you God, you know, and I've moved out of course I have no particular attachment to the framework of religion, but these spiritual questions have this curiosity about the place of the higher, of divine guidance and communion, has stayed with me as a question. And I would say it's fairly recent, actually, for me, in the last 5-10 years, that I have understood what it is to truly have faith.
Yeah.
I mean, it's new, and I think there are a lot of people just stressing at the moment, you know, that this journey, the political journey, can just keep you on the left brain wheel. But the real journey that's going on for me, that I live with, is that Gaia is ascending.
Yes.
And she is taking the people on the planet with her.
Yeah.
And for that to happen, we are having to change. Yeah. And the darkness has to leave the planet.
Has to leave. Yeah.
And politics comes in then.
Yeah.
Because they're going to do that. They're busy trying to do that, you know. Yeah. But above that is a whole other level of assistance. And then there's the political. And then on a core level, you know, say that every being on the planet able to hold light is doing an incredible amount of work at the moment. So it's like you know, in the first lockdown, I went into, oh goodness, you know, should I be being useful? What should I be doing? But the whole time was about using it as deep healing, a communion and really moving into deeper levels of self-love and self-understanding. And then from that, when we speak and what we choose to speak, I just would say to everybody, you will know when the time is to speak. But that knowing also comes from a willingness to really look at the programming that says, as you said, no one's going to listen. What you say is going to be garbage anyway. It's not worthy. You're not worthy. So anything you say is not going to be worthy. And we're really moving into a deep cleansing now, of cleansing and smushing off that programming. And if I use the word programming with the people of the left brain, shall we say, they will go, well, what is that? And you know, I haven't got the, you know, the 125 sort of articles or things to send people, but that describe it in greater detail than I'm capable of. But I think we would all
word to use is indoctrination. So indoctrination,
and of course mainstream. And I do like the understanding that it's not only the mainstream media is not only programming us, it is actually you know, it is propaganda that is designed to get us to believe what we see, because we are powerful beings and we will then manifest it.
And we'll manifest what they want. They've commandeered that. They've commandeered that.
Because each element of the voice is linked to one of the 5 senses. So if we are using the eyes and looking at that, and believe it or not, the sense that's connected to is our fire element, which is our ego center, which is our sense of self. So if we look and our sense of self goes yes, then our sense of self is being more and more co-opted into, yes, that's my reality. That's why they can't. Where I fit in.
That's why they can't. Yeah. That's why people are having a really hard time of letting go, because they will lose who they are if that is proven to be wrong. And that's probably why the mainstream media is the last thing to be taken down, because we're going to have a whole lot of lost souls out there going, who am I now? I was about to say, this connects with what I was about to say. You said something about faith and having faith, and how you have faith and you just know this and the inner core of yourself. So we've literally got decades, not just decades, generations of people who've very slowly been our faith and our understanding of who we are has been eroded. and has been commandeered by an external machine that is the mainstream media propaganda machine. And so what we have is a whole bunch of very vulnerable babies out there in meat suits, never having to have their faith questioned, because their reality was completely presented to them as one thing.
Yes.
And they said,
Yeah.
okay, I'll take that and I won't have to think about anything. I'll just go watch sport, watch the news, have a beer. You tell me what to think and believe. That will keep me nice and safe and cozy. I'll be afraid when you tell me when to be afraid. I'll be happy when you tell me when to be happy.
Yeah.
And I won't ever have to question my faith in anything, because what you say is true.
Yes.
Now you take that is a completely, it's robotic, it's left brain, it is completely allowing something else to take over and control us. And this is why we call them controllers, because it is controlling every aspect of who you are, including who you believe you are. So for those people, it is without question as to, you know, a lot of people ask me, how can I wake up my family? They're just not accepting it. It's because they're not going to, because they've never had to understand something that they can't see, or have faith in something that they can't see. This is great because, listen, I'm going to have an interview with Mark Devlin soon, and he's going to ask me about all of this. He's told me, you've got to prove it to me. Prove it to me. He keeps saying, you know, prove it to me that what you're saying is true. So this is what this is. This is about faith, and why there is so many people who get caught in, they are not going to accept the intuitive part of themselves, because they don't know how. They don't know.
So, so if I can just pick that up. So for me, intuition is linked directly to what I call the water center, which is the sacral, the belly, the womb of our creation. And in your piece that you did, where you read, you know, the woman who is too much, the too much woman, that poem that you read by that beautiful thing. This is a very, it's not about you, it's not about that woman writing that poem. This is a huge energy on the planet, a too much woman.
Too much.
And the voice is directly linked to the repression of this throughout history. So the primary work I do is opening the grounding center for people, men and women. And because that is one of the two female elements which has been completely discredited. You are not allowed to be sovereign. People go, whoa, I feel powerful. I mean, the biggest joy, how could I not love, you know, is when people go, how do you feel? Powerful. You know, and this is people returning to their sense of, I am innately divine right, human, powerful. I have powerful, I have sovereignty. And from that can come a voice. Now, the water element that you're talking about, the instinct, and that people are terrified of their feelings. And as you say, they do not know how to run with them, because society in every form has discredited the power of feeling, apart from in the world of the arts, which we share. But even as a young actor, it was like, I say to my students, it's like directors and things would go, give me more, give me more. But then if you're crying, they'll say, leave the room. So this connection, like, don't bring your stuff here, but go into your soul and give it all to me now, on cue, you know. So never any caring for the individual creative artistic journey to what it is in, let's say, you know, the practitioner, the artist, where they do dig deep and through a process choose to bring that out and offer it to the world. Well, that is now no longer the domain of the artist and the creative practitioner. That is, every one of us are now birthing our artist. And in the new space world, when we've got a lot of space, there's going to be a lot more room for that to be happening too. So this water element why I love your Too Much Woman is that water contains within it, at the most extreme, you know, it is the goddess Kali. It is the destroyer. The destroyer and the chaos. It is the chaos. And people, the biggest thing I deal with is people going, well, obviously as the first step moving out of the 3D, out of the left brain is, well, no, I wasn't allowed anger and I wasn't allowed grief.
Yeah.
So then it's about, okay, well, what would it be to let these feelings be named and back into your life? And yes, this may require some hours crying under the duvet, you know, and but I cannot stress how much the movement of water is key to allowing feelings to move back to be a center, to allow them to be at the center of the guidance of your life. So your gut instinct, which says that didn't feel right, that didn't feel good, I'm going to say something about that, that's water in action. That's the deep feminine moving in action. And usually we all have an impulse where that comes up. It's called the primary impulse. And then we do this fabulous thing, it's an art form in New Zealand, where we go squoosh over the top of it and we go, oh, I'm not allowed to do that. I have to remain pleasant and likable at all times. So as long as we're in the zone of let's listen to the people on telly and remain pleasant and likable, there's a pretty good guarantee that you haven't yet started the journey towards your own truth, which means in turn you will be relying very hard on others. And if they don't get it spot on, you will say, sorry, that doesn't fit mine, so that's no good.
And this is why I have a problem with the New Agers, because, and this is just generalizing, but a lot of New Agers really do that. Like, oh no, gotta be nice, gotta be angelic, gotta be sweet.
Yeah, I have had that experience in the healing community.
You know, and I've copped it publicly, you know, I've copped it publicly, you know, with the suppression of my, you know, who I am and you know, talk about the way I look or the way I present myself or how I swear or that I'm being condescending. And, you know, I don't care. I don't really care anymore. But that's all part of that I think that needs to be shown publicly, that sort of the transformation of that, or the people are seeing what you're saying, that process of speaking up, getting attacked, being repressed, and then the person overcoming that and coming out of it. They're witnessing that in a few of the things that's happened to me in videos, where I suddenly, you know, explaining myself and saying, you know, no, you can't tell me to shut up. And, you know, you sent me these emails or you wrote these messages and I'm telling you, no, I'm going to do this. I don't think people witness that enough. On, you know, because we're such visual people and we watch television and we watch videos and things like that, I think people need to witness this more of this. We're being silenced, we're told to behave a certain way because, you know, you're a community and you need to buck up and you need to, you know, you need to follow these rules and we need to do this because this is, even if you don't like it, and school teaches you that as well. It's like, even if you don't like it, this is the way it's done. Even if you don't like it, you need to be quiet. You're not allowed to say that. You're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to do anything. So people have been repressed so much, but they're never really shown an example of speaking up and not getting punished for it, or speaking up, attempt at silencing, and then you keep going anyway. You know, nobody really witnesses that, because what are they showing in mainstream at the moment? They're showing people being ridiculed, censored, silenced, put on blacklists, and then according to the mainstream media, it's like, well, they're just stupid and they're crazy or whatever, or you're going to get punished and you're going to get fined if you do that. There's that threat. Right. So they're attempting to silence this voice, this divine feminine, this empowerment, this embracing who you really are. They're attempting to show you you're going to be punished if you do that. Do you understand? And even on a minor level, even on a minor level, you're going to be punished by us taking away your social media access. You know, we're gonna shut you down if you do that. And the thing is we just keep rising above it, and we keep going, no, I don't care, we're going to keep doing it, you know, we're going to keep saying it, we're going to keep saying it like it is. That is really important for people to witness, and then therefore to model or to emulate. Because what happens, I think, sort of happens through osmosis, you know, it kind of people see it, resonate with it, and then start to embody it, and then they start to exercise and practice that in themselves. And that's really important.
Yeah.
I think that the voice, you know, you're talking about that. I just love everything you're saying. There's so much going on. The reason why I'm closing my eyes is because I'm feeling a lot of the stuff that you're saying on another level. I'm feeling it on another level.
I think so.
Very
and you're yawning
level.
a bit, which is the body relaxing it.
So it's like,
that's the body winding down. Yeah, it's
and
good.
I was just holding just to kind of like ground me a bit and to feel it. But it's because it's very, very this is really, really important core information, and you'll either get it or you won't at this point in your life. But can you tell us more about the divine feminine and the rising of the divine feminine? Because I think that this ceremony at Uluru is part of that. That's happening. I don't know much about that, but what I've tapped into, because that's Gaia's heart. Okay, Uluru is Gaia's heart.
Deeply,
The deep state or the cabal, the controllers, they know that we are connected to Gaia, and that we are connected to Source through her. We are connected to God through her. And so they have tried to oppress and suppress and keep down this earth and tap into her and rape her and destroy her in every way, and then suppress us, suppress our voice, and all of that stuff has been, you know. And then if you're talking about the water element, I want to know, does that mean that if they can steer actual physical waterways on our earth, is that impacting us? You know, is that impacting?
I think, I mean,
fruition?
so I mean, we can call it, I like saying divine feminine. I love saying goddess too, even though goddess can get a bit woo at times, but you have to non-woo it, and you just have to go goddess. You have to sort of get the fact that neither of these terms are woo-woo. They are deep, ancient, and probably the most timely sources of power on the planet at this time. This return of the goddess, it is not in any way woo-woo.
No,
it is like this ancient,
it's who we are,
primordial really knowing. It is who we truly are. So, and it is such a beautiful awakening within people. This is all of the people who are now inquiring, asking questions about their lives, going, oh, what do I want to learn next? Who am I? What's going to help define who I am next? And that's not working for me anymore. That's not feeling right, like a fit anymore. So I'm now moving in this direction. And of course, lockdown has meant that we've all been placed into the void. This is the most positive aspect of lockdown, which is the deep mother. So we're in the void, and we sit and we lie and we move into darkness. I'm sure we watch a lot of Netflix. And then out of that, though, we plant seeds, or seeds are planted by our divine. And then over time, we are, and this is why they say we are getting ready for this big shift on the planet, because we are literally being seeded with the energies that are going to carry us through into this very positive time of change in the new world on the planet. But the dark forces, you know, these goddess vortexes that are all over the planet, you know, I mean, you know, they have been targeted, like, for example, Notre Dame and the fire there, you know, that is one of the planet's main primary goddess vortexes. So the intent was to take it out. So, you know, there has been very specific, the dark forces are very, very aware of the power of the divine feminine,
I think
and doing all they can.
Beirut, the Middle East there. I think that is as well. Another part, that is another very, very sacred area.
So the energy around Uluru, I would say, is very deeply about reinstating this on the solstice, and the water element is, yes, of course, it's the waterway. I mean, when you think about this pollution in New Zealand, pristine New Zealand, but the truth is that our waterways are deeply polluted, and this is really only snuck out into the media, over
Was it arsenic?
the locals know all about it, but I don't know the details. I'm just talking about general industrial pollution and of course chemtrails and we've got this big thing here, 1080, for the crops, and which is legal and not legal in a lot of countries, but still legal here. So, this is the sort of stuff that is impacting us, and it's getting into our physical systems, our nervous systems. But, the primary politicization of the water element is that, as I said, feelings and emotion has been demonized in every way, in the media, in teaching, and societal norms, cultural norms. Mm-hmm. So to feel, to weep, to express, I don't mean, so I'm going to express anger consciously, not just to download or dump or do it with violence, which is some of the males are caught in that cultural trap, that's okay, but to own it and to work with it as a force of boundary making and change.
Yes.
Because every emotion is designed to exist as a pure current of pristine running water within us. And I believe this is what instinct is.
Yes.
Instinct is when we have purified our own personal waterways. And so every current, and I think of it in terms of each element, has a particular river, or, and we've purified the set of feelings and the set of beliefs that exist on each of these energetic elements in our body. And so we go, I am feeling grief. I will let that run, and it will finish when it is ready, and I will be clean again. What society has said, take that away, go away. So you go to your room, you cry for 10 minutes, and then you think, that's enough. And you get on with your life, and then you wonder why a year later you have to be under the duvet for half an hour, and then the next year an hour, and then you wonder why you get cancer 5 years later. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't want to be simplistic about this in any way, but we do know that all disease starts in the astral, which is the emotional field, and then it comes down into the physical. So if what isn't allowed, it's real. That has real energy, what isn't allowed. It doesn't go anywhere every time we repress it.
It creates a
block, it's a real energy force, and if we get really shut down around it, we'll get into like this little tight soupy stewy sort of thing. And then of course the dark energies which are around us, which obviously spend a lot of time clearing in private sessions, all this pulling out of entities and all this stuff that happens, they can, as we know, they only enter us when there's an energetic match. So if we are holding feelings, and that in turn is reducing our frequency, then we are more likely to pick up on forces which are not beneficial to us. And then we've got to clear them, and that creates even more work. So this idea of just letting the feelings happen, to purify them, but you don't say, okay, now my anger's purified. You might have to let it course through you for a week. You might need to feel like shit for a week, And this is what I mean about the chaos of the element of water, is that people get deeply uncomfortable. Clients say, I had to lie down all day today, or even, in extreme cases, because I had a very deeply profound session with a client last week, and it was about activating the lower body, which hadn't been activated. And then she, and this is very unusual, but she's working really deeply and really thoroughly, this beautiful woman. And, you know, she was vomiting afterwards. But as I say, that's probably twice in 20 years I've had a client do that. But it still just says to you, yeah, when stuff's ready to move, it's going to find a way to move.
Yeah.
You know, if it doesn't come out the bottom, it'll come out the top. You know, I mean, it's really, or a little healing crisis flu-y thing is more common. That will move across you. But you learn to, with all healing work, all energetic healing work, you learn to look at it as that it's not, I haven't really got the flu. I'm just having, somebody described it to me once as, you know, it's a healing crisis when you can almost watch it move across you, as opposed to being in the cells, you know, and take you down. It's different. Yeah. And that's one of the, to me, that's one of the disciplines of engaging with healing work is learning the signs of, okay, so I'm integrating today. Or, you know, in terms of my spiritual work, downloads coming, I need to just lie down today. You know, I mean, given that, it's only that I have more time these days, you know. I mean, it's I haven't always had time, you know, like everybody, but I do think I'm crafting my new world, and I'm crafting the way I want to work in the future. And I think we're all being given this opportunity to do that. But the language around women, just to stop the politicizing thing, this thing about, so for example, I'll use a classic example. So the air element is right up here. Hey, hey, hey. And so up here are things like, oh, no, hey, oh, can you please just help? Can you please? I need. So this is high risk emotion, vulnerability. The most positive side of it is awe and wonder. I am in bliss. I'm totally open to the finer frequencies, and I'm in bliss. The negative side of it is I'm really scared and I'm anxious and there is terror. And so this is the child self activated.
Wow.
And this is where the vulnerability lives. So this is where I will offer this to you, even though it's quite scary. You know, I'm quite scared by this. And but then at the worst extreme, that's just being named the place where mad women live. Where mental women were locked into mental institutions all through the 50s because they had hysteric emotion. Men avoid it like the plague because it is mad land. And of course, for men, it is the most beautiful place of awakening into their higher. And of course, the young guys, if you even just look at the program, The Voice, I just watched it, I remember a few years ago when I was still watching Kelly, but I mean, I still watch things. And there was this thing that had happened where all the guys who were doing really well had these beautiful high tenor voices, like all the young singers. And the women, the young girls, the younger women, all had these lovely deep, Whereas that had, of course, sociologically, it was like the men had to be the basses. Girls had to be the sopranos, but it's writing itself. And that is so beautiful that this is happening, and that the audience was getting it in their bodies. And when these beautiful young guys with these soaring tenor, you know, high, that's just a name, I wouldn't call it tenor, but, you know, high range voices, people were going, yay, because it speaks, there's a sense of, yes, that is the male element. The male elements are actually ha, and they are those high tones. That's where the male, the purified left brain aspect wants to actually soar and be clear and reach for the light. And it doesn't want to be bogged down,
and that's why
you know,
and that's why we resonate with certain singers. Like, I mean, I'm thinking Jeff Buckley when you're saying that, because
Jeff Buckley was a classic example.
He was he reached this, and this is why they say he's like an angel, you know, because he reached these heights with his voice and this you know, very, very ethereal kind of elements and things like that, but yet masculine and male and all of that sort of stuff, you know. So so it's about changing our cultural norms, our gender norms,
and understanding that we can all be everything.
Yes.
That we all have a divine right to every note in our being, our right to ground, our right to feel, our right to be present and intimate in community, which is the fire element, and our right to be vulnerable and express our needs. And these are such cool things, and they're all dealt with in many, many different modalities out there, but they're all things that can really make us feel very whole.
I want you to talk about the divine masculine as well, and then that combination of, we kind of touched on this before we started talking, about how two voices, male and female, can resonate with each other and spark something if it's the right response. Do you want to talk about that?
Well, I mean, this sacred marriage is, as we know, as we were talking earlier, you know, the power of the sacred marriage and the meeting of sort of twin flames, or whatever you want to call that, you know, is they say it's one of the most powerful healing aspects for the whole planet at the moment, which is why there is a belief in certain communities that we're being prevented from meeting
our twin flames.
You know, because actually it's just so powerful, the force of divine union. But that exists within us. I mean, my true belief is, my journey with it has been, you know, because my sort of healthy understanding of the divine masculine, you know, was sort of taken out by abuse at a young age. So it's been a reconstituting, you know, a rebuilding and a re-honoring. But and of course, oddly, I've leaned into my own masculine, and I've been a driver, as I say, in the early part of my career when I was in theatre. So it's only more now that I've let the divine feminine into myself. And so, but the irony is, I've always lent on her. So it's just complex. But like you know, I'm not, we have to go into our own story to untangle it, to be of use to others. And so as I'm honoring them both, then that divine union can happen within me. And I feel at that point is when we are ready to, that our partner or our match will manifest. I think if it manifests before that time, there is a sense that we will fall into all our historic patterns that we've seen, you know, our parents' generation, because they knew no better, of codependence, and the man does this in the relationship and the woman does this in the relationship, and so I do that and you do that, and then imprisonment really happens. So whereas if we're doing the dance that we both have, we both have these elements alive within us, and so we're both standing divinely in our essence. We're both standing, you know, with the union complete within each of us, but seeing each other in total honoring and respect. And when these two voices come together, I do believe a very profound alchemy happens. And I mean, from that little bit you played me of that piece that you've done with Mark Atwood, I felt that had a beautiful vocal balance of the male, very anchored male energy, and the you're using a softer tone, because you have a range of tones. You have many tones. You have you don't fuck with me, and you have your very whimsical and lyrical, and you know, but this, even when you are in your lightness, I still hear your strength coming through. So because and so when you hear sort of male female dance happen in this way, it's very moving. It enters the cells of the body, and I think it's a very beautiful thing to share, this working
very
of the
important. Yeah,
male and the
so.
female together.
And we're not just talking male and female in gender, because I think some people who
No,
are of same sex.
not about gender. No.
It's not. Because I had a question from somebody who was homosexual, who said, well, what about us gay men? Like we have, but there is still the element that you still have male-female energy in a same-sex couple, for example. There is still that balance, and it's within you anyway. Okay, so it's about the balancing of the male-female within us as individuals. That's very important. So when we talk about divine masculine, the divine masculine is, it's not just power and brute and force and all of that. It actually contains vulnerability, and it contains emotion, and it contains the ability to be able to be sensitive and a father figure, and to be loving and caring and nurturing, as well as all of the other stuff. It's not just one or the other. It's not just a duality thing, or no, is it? So
well, I have this weird thing that I don't know if I've read anywhere else, and probably other voice teachers wouldn't agree, but I find it fascinating that the female element being earth, that this is the home place for women, whether or not they don't, just because it's an energetic doesn't mean all women now have to speak down here. It's not about that. It's about turning on the lights in each room of the house, our divine house, and knowing that the qualities of grounding are available to us. Even if I do have quite a light voice and I choose to continue with that, I know how to find the pathway to grounding myself when I need to. So, but the joke is, I say, how do women like their men to sound? Very often, they like the men to have the deep, calm voices. Well, guess what? That's the female element. That is a man. The men who can do that are men who innately understand and are connected to actually the divine feminine. So the idea of that women like that in men, it's not because that's manly, it's because it's mirroring who they are. It's mirroring their core. Likewise, and this is totally encultured, that women have high, coming from women in the 50s, pleasing. So if you move into pleasing mode, if you move out of your sovereignty and move into my only function in the world is to please, your voice will move out of the deeper tones and into the middle range, and it will be all light and sunny all the time. And it will just move into, yes, I am available, I'm here to please, I'm here to soothe. Now, these are all, okay, perfectly valid qualities, but this is in your ego center. So this is compassion lives in water. Compassion is a much deeper quality than something that you show by being nice. And so I had a client once say to me, I don't understand why I can't just be nice. And unfortunately, I didn't have time at the end of the workshop to calmly have a discussion with her about it. But it's just that nice, in the majority of cases, is a socialized aspect of a much deeper thing, which is compassion coming from self-love. Compassion sits deeper in the body, but nice is all about, I just want to soothe things, I want to avoid conflict, and I want to present myself, and I want you to like me. I need you to like me because it's not going to create any ripples. And if we can all just get along in nice land,
this sounds like
then we don't have any.
My daughter's speech therapist is just like that. She's like,
well,
how are you today? Oh,
yeah.
And a very passive aggressive person. So you're running late again, are you? Oh, yes.
Yeah, that's so funny. That it cannot help but sound passive aggressive.
Yeah, it's passive
because there's nothing going on. Yeah,
no.
There's none of the stuff that's. It's. We have laughs about this in class when I illustrate it, because it's really so passive aggressive.
It sounds like a kindergarten teacher who's saying, "Oh, are you wiping your nose on your sleeve? Oh, we don't do that here in this class, do we?"
Yeah. And of course, the joke is kids just want to. Kids these days, my God, kids. It's just like I give you a good reason for not wiping it on the sleeve, and then the kid will either go, yeah, I'll go with that, or nah, doesn't work for me. I'm going to keep wiping my nose on my sleeve. You know, it's like they know their own minds, it seems to me these days.
That's funny about the voice that you're talking. I just
yeah.
listening to old clips of myself, but also someone else, so from 5 years ago, and the voice has changed in this very short period of time. And it's not the audio, but their voice was higher, and now it's a lot lower. And we're talking about a male here. The voice was a lot higher, and he was a very different person back then, more ego based, and gone through a transformation in his life, and now the voice is very low and resonant and
so
deeper.
he's found
so it's actually
home place.
And he said, I'm more myself now, that's why my voice sounds
I am
like
more
this.
myself.
It's very interesting because the old clips were like a lot higher, and then you hear these new ones, and he said, I've gone through this dark night of the soul, gone through this period, and I've released my ego in a lot of things, and now it's this deeper voice. So that's really interesting that you say that.
That's just beautiful example that you are giving, because that really is probably the journey that I personally deeply have experienced, and I witness in clients and people,
and is that
when they step into really doing the work.
And that's why
they love it, and people love it when you arrive in that home place, because it does actually feel like home.
And people resonate more with you, and they feel you on a less egotistical or a less ego-based level. They sort of feel who you really are, and they respond to you in that way. But even my own clips, I listened to my first video yesterday, I think, and I was like, why is my voice so high? Like, it sounds different. Like, oh, what is that? I think that was me. I was a little bit nervous, and
I think, as I say, you were really in your fire, and moving up towards your air, which is the more delicate and traditional female tones. I don't think you were thinking that, but you were vulnerable. So that takes you into these tones here, where you're just I'm a little bit vulnerable about what I'm putting out. But I'm, but I know it to be true.
Video went I went deeper, because my voice got. I relaxed a bit. Okay, I did that video. That was okay, because I wasn't sure if I was going to put it out there. That's the other thing. I thought I was going to share it in a very small audience that I knew intimately, like my own friends. That might have been the risk. That might have been a greater risk to me than people I didn't know. So I think that's why that first video was very. I felt more vulnerable, and then once I did it, I was like, okay, I put it out there. I put talked about the demons. That was a bit okay. All right, it was fine. Let's go on the next one. And so, I
think it's hilarious. You didn't go in gently, darling. I mean, you started at the top. I mean, people who want to hear your message are going to find you, and that's going to resonate. That's just, But as you say, the power of that level of your truth coming from a professionally experienced skill, and I don't want to really call it a skill, but you know what I mean. Your being, who has worked in this arena for many years, therefore is trained, we could say, or which has given you the confidence to believe what you see, which I've never ever doubted from you. And then I think in this world where we're being drip fed stuff, which is why it's so hard for I don't really want to say people of either camp, but the range that we have of the fact lovers and the belief lovers and everybody in between. Sorry, I've lost it. It's usually a sign they're saying, shut up, or don't carry on with that strand. So anyway, what was I saying?
So you were talking about speaking your truth, and oh God, I've lost it too.
Yeah, we have completely lost it.
So you were talking about
not to go there.
Yeah, maybe not, but I think you were saying how just back to that first video I did, that I'm speaking my truth from intuition. I have this skill.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
and
But also you offered and you named yourself as being vulnerable, and but overriding the vulnerability in the desire to be of help. And that's what I was saying was the actual. It was that actually talking about male female blend, darling.
yeah,
Those videos were actual very good examples of a male female blend within your being, because
right.
you were working in the female tones were going, whoa, I'm not quite sure about this.
Yeah.
But the fact, the knowing, which is the inner grounding, came out in the information, because the information was extremely direct, punchy. You delivered it as you saw it.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I saw. This is how I saw it. And the actual images and content of that were very powerful.
Mm.
But so the sort of delicate holding of this very powerful force is in a way an example of that sacred marriage. So people who say, oh, you're not like that anymore, that's because you now have moved into JT's essence, which is, you're more earth, water, and that flowing, creative female
it's
energy.
interesting that people are tapping
Yeah.
into that, because I get emails from people saying your earth mother or your Pasha Mama, do you know Pasha Mama is like Aya in ayahuasca. So Aya is the like an earth goddess, or the grandmother, the one that tells you, you've got to do this, that stern but loving energy.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's that female.
Yes.
So it's funny that's that water, earth energy.
But that's the water, the sternness. See, feelings, if you talk about feelings, I don't know if it's as simple as saying the New Age community, but love and light, if you're only dealing with that, I have to plug my computer in. If you're only dealing with love and light, then and you are actively not looking at the darker range. I mean, we are all dark and light. That's what Source wanted. That's the divine experiment. Split the dark and light, let it play out. Let's have the duality experiment on planet Earth. Let's watch it, let's learn from it. And now we are at this extraordinary stage of bringing it all back together and moving back into unity. But if you leave the dark out of the picture, there's a vast level of inner knowing that you can't access. And frankly, I mean, my journey this year in my own healing has been to contact times, particularly past life energies, sometimes other planetary energies, lifetimes in which I have been part of the dark myself. And frankly, that is hard to swallow. And in terms of voice language, the swallowing is an important part of what can we swallow about ourselves. That's linked to the courage. Somebody tells you a truth that is not pretty or nice. Can you hear it? Can you swallow it? Can you digest it, ferment it, and integrate it and let it become part of your reality? And so, when I hear that I haven't been love and light, infinitely throughout time, I mean, I know it in this life. I mean, my dad had a big anger thing, which I, took on heartily in my early years.
Anger's good. I like anger.
But having understood that having understood that the reason I do talk about dark energies and dark forces is not only because I've witnessed them and feel them in all the clients over 20 years, but I deeply know them in myself. And this is a whole new level of dark this year that's come up. And I think planetarily, why 2020 has been such a sort of shit, is that all of our core dark is coming up, because as they say, Gaia is moving into the light and it cannot take the dark with it.
It has to shake
so
off.
This deep, smelly, stagnanty, ooky pooky dark, which is often trapped in the water center, which is the belly. So what makes up all that ooky pooky stagnant dark is the feelings that haven't run.
Right.
Haven't gone under the waterfall yet. They haven't been
run. Cleared
and
or cleansed.
Yeah.
Oh, this
because
is so
left brain says that one's not pretty. The ego's not going to like that one. oh, that one's not going to suit you, or
Yeah.
and so the ego has been our controller, as you said earlier.
Yeah.
It's like, for me, I've been working quite deeply on ego this year, because I know from other lives that, in which I've, done quite high work, but there was this ultimate challenge of the ego that wasn't fully resolved. Yeah. And so I've been learning these beautiful things, and as a result, my surrender has dropped deeper and deeper, and my faith has dropped deeper and deeper. So for me, the release of the ego, just what you beautifully said about that guy's journey, the release of the ego is directly linked to our journey down into this deeper self-loving home place, selfhood. But for that, we have to sort of understand what the ego is. And my wonderful healer friend, Sarah Melchizedek, who was guiding me on this, and luckily she's tough enough to shout at me when necessary, because I am quite a tough nut to crack in that way. And the ego is a tough nut. The ego does not like being challenged, and it will go, who the fuck do you think you are? It will go, I'm right. And it's like, you just need another force, a spiritual force coming at you saying, no, you're not. And in my case, it was somebody I could trust. And so,
That's fantastic. So we need to work through the shadow self. We need to transmute
shadow
that.
self is big.
We need to release obligations.
Move a little bit.
Yeah, that's okay. We need to release obligations and old programming, old indoctrination, stepping away and understanding that the visual is directly linked. So the sense of the sight is directly linked to the I am, or who I think I am. Is that correct? The sense of sight is connected to the part of the voice that is...
I'm just getting the slightly dead plant out of shot. Yes.
That's
okay.
So,
whoa! And the coffee cup's falling over. It's all happening here. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So you're saying, so I'm trying to sum up what we've spoken of. And
yes, just say that last bit again, sorry.
So you said that...
Because I love the bit about the I am, because I work with I am energies all the time.
So the sense of sight is connected to the I am, or you said in the sacral it connects to who we believe we are. Is that correct?
No, the sight is directly linked to solar plexus.
Solar plexus is power.
Right? Yeah. Okay. The sense that is linked to the sacral center is actually taste. Which means, what is my appetite?
Is that why I got a big belly?
Which means, what is my want? Is that
why I've got a big belly?
Yeah, it's probably why I've got big bellies. Yes, but it's about am I getting what I want? Am I going to walk towards, you know how they say the gut, your gut instinct leads you across the room?
What did we used to do? We used to do, do you remember Bruce Keller? Do you remember when I was at, was he now? Yeah, okay. He was one of our lecturers at university. Yeah. And he had his big belly, and he'd walk with his belly forward. And
lead the belly forward.
Yeah, the belly forward. So we used to do the Alexander technique, and we'd have to stand in our... was that about? Do you know about the Alexander technique with the standing? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I just thought that was part of that whole belly forward thing.
Well, alignment. Yeah, because, that's why we start at the bottom. We've got to get the legs anchored and firm, and then the sacrum strong, so the belly can. So we don't contract the belly. We don't hold ourselves up using our belly. We hold ourselves up using the bones that are designed to do it, with the sacrum and the spine, and the belly can sort of just be, because that's when the water element gets to just be. But again, even a rounded belly, even a fat belly is so no-go for women particularly, and yet it's the female element.
And yet when you see pictures of Gaia, what's Gaia got? She's always got the belly. Yeah, so these are all the, not the propaganda, but, this is how the conditioning that we've all been... that it's not sexy.
Yeah, about the conditioned out of the empowered feminine, out of the empowered female aspect. Yeah. So it's taste and appetite, and what do I want, which is why we have to know what our feelings are. So we can't work out what we really want unless we work out our feelings. And the deal with the feelings is that feelings are just, and it's used everywhere these days, this catchphrase. I don't know which teacher taught it to me, but, energy is, emotion is just energy in motion. And so, but what that really means is that whether it's dark or light or what we call good or bad is irrelevant. It is just energy. And if you can take your gaze and own your deep, sensual, beautiful, yummy, sensual self, and also your raging, want to kill, want to.
And I've got no problem with that. I've got so many friends who are really beautiful, gorgeous, love and light energy, and because they judge themselves on being angry sometimes, it ends up exploding in this very horrible way, because they've been trying to suppress that. Whereas I see anger as a good thing. I mean, and it's because it's about setting boundaries, as you said. It's about declaring, what it is that you want and what you will not tolerate and what you will tolerate. That's good anger. And
every feeling has a function.
It all has
and that's not to say you want them all the time, but we have been given them as divine. A beautiful book I read in my 20s. I think I was given it actually when I was teaching in Sydney. And it's called, some of you will be familiar with the Hathors, which are a divine race, starseed race, and where, and you see their beautiful little faces in temples in Egypt. It's a big ancient connection. But they talk about your feelings you haven't been left on the planet alone. You've been given a divine guidance system. And that divine guidance system is your feelings.
Emotions and feelings,
And through your feelings, you will gain access to your inner guidance. So, for example, if you're feeling, not feeling good about this, that's actually a sign saying, don't go there.
Don't go there.
Yeah. But the question is, of course, do we listen?
It could be that, or it could be, because I think sometimes people mistake fear for truth, like when
this is what I mean. Once you are in flow and it's really big and there's a lot at stake and it just doesn't feel good. It's like once you learn to read your feelings, then you can understand that as a sign saying don't go there. But if, like what we've been talking about today, we say, well, this is happening, and the person goes, no, it doesn't feel good, so I'm not going to go there. That's a completely different reality we're talking about. Because actually the truth of it is, a friend of mine said to me, I have really strong instinct and I trust it. And I totally trust what I believe because I have very strong instinct. And I, love and cherish this beautiful friend. But thinking about it, I thought, and I'm sure she would agree, is that actually she knows that emotional work has been scary for her over the years, and she's done every physical work possible, but not always the emotional work.
Not the emotional.
And it is for me the missing link in healing for many people.
Yeah, I think so. I think a lot of people can intellectualize healing modalities that they come across, but they won't go deep. And they won't feel it, and they won't get it. They won't feel it on a deeper level, and allow themselves to, the way I see it, because healing is both the healer and the person being healed, 50-50.
Totally.
That it's just emotions. It's just feelings. Like, don't be afraid.
Yeah.
What are you afraid of? You're going to feel uncomfortable for a little bit, and then what? And then you break through. Like there's literally nothing to be afraid of. It's just feelings. And unfortunately our society, which I think we'll wrap up soon, but I think our society has been babied and coddled for so long into a packaged world that says, okay, you don't have to do anything, just be our slave, And in the meantime, we'll tell you what to think and feel and do, and we'll give you this package. You don't have to extend yourself any further than that. Just do this. And people go, okay, I'll take that. I'll just be.
And also, if everybody started feeling, it would get really messy.
Yeah. Oh, you can't predict feelings.
How would we exist if everybody,
you can't predict feelings. They're just going to come. Oh, it's like a big flow of water, isn't it? It's the feelings of water, because they just flow and they go where they need to go. And I think that's where the resistance is. This is why you're getting people saying, my family's asleep still, my family's not, because they're too afraid to break out of that into the vulnerable part of themselves, and to see things differently than what's been presented, you know, by the mainstream media. If they have to break away from that,
I think so. But I've been one of my one lot of you know, galactic guidance that I have deep respect for and that nurtures me quite a lot is, you know, that they are very strongly suggesting that everybody is in exactly the place that they are divinely meant to be. And I think, because I went through very acute, oh my God, people need to know this. And it was very acute. And then I just sort of gave up, but now I don't, it's not even giving up. I'm really trying to move into a deep honoring that everybody is where they are divinely meant to be at this time on the planet. But that means is that I have to accept that I'm pretty alone in a lot of the stuff that I feel and believe. And that's okay, because I will find the odd person to talk to, and I need to keep loving the other people in my life, because I'm not willing to lose my family, you know. You're
holding the light for a lot of people. So I mean, I did a video the other day, and was, you know, everything is as it should be, and it really is. And once you accept that everything is exactly how it should be at this present time, and allow it to play out. And that's not about just, you know, it's not about saying, oh, well, so we don't have to try, we don't have to do anything. No, it's not that. You keep doing what you're doing, and you keep you know, keep delving deep, keep researching, keep understanding, keep trying to reach out, etc. But just understand that everything has a divine plan and timing and all of that, and we're here to explore and express and to understand who we are just through expression and experience, and everything is there for us in this playground as it is, and it's just wonderful. I just think all of that is just wonderful, and knowing so much more stuff from you, learning about all these new elements that people don't consider. It's all part of this beautiful, amazing world full of possibilities. It's just so amazing. It's so beautiful. It gives us another way of understanding ourselves and exploring that. So I really love that. Did you want to tell everyone about where to find you and what, you know, where we're going to?
Well, I'm, you know.
So it's Sylvia Rands, 4 Elements Voice.
Sylvia Rands. My Facebook page is 4 Elements Voice.
Number 4.
I haven't been posting a lot of stuff on that because lately, however, so you can get me on Messenger, PM me on Messenger if you'd like to get in touch, and then I'll probably ask you to email me to be on a mailing list. If you want to do some private work, we can work on Zoom. We can do some healing work on Zoom, and I would suggest we do that through Messenger. Normal Messenger. I will be we're just discussing with JC my new page that I'll be setting up probably within a week will probably be called Voices of Awakening, and that will be specifically for anybody from this call wanting to sort of be in a community around this work if you so wish.
Fantastic. Yeah. And you offer healing sessions via I'm
working on Skype at the moment. If it's probably getting a little bit old fashioned now, but
a lot of people still use it.
Skype is still and that works fine. Obviously we don't have the hands-on aspect, but we do have the energetic aspect, and I've also vocal coaching, just directly
Wonderful.
voice
Yeah.
stuff. I mean, every healing session is just describing. It is totally unique. That's what I started with today, as every voice is totally unique in people's needs. So some sessions can be 75% talking, actually just nothing out sort of the issues before we sort of get on the table, as it were. Other sessions can be pure sound from the beginning to the end, just me, just the toning, just the sounding, and any blend of the above. And so, you know, our bodies are we are extraordinary beings. And what I am noticing lately is that our guidance teams, our inner, you know, however you see them, we go in to find them, are very ready for people to get sort of in touch with them. At the moment, I'm finding, you know, saying, hello, we're here. We've actually been here for a while. Hello, you know, and our, in the essence, there's a lot of help around for us at the moment.
Absolutely. Wonderful. I love speaking with you. I'm so glad we could
so
connect.
beautiful.
It's been like 1998, so we're looking, maybe it was about 22 and a half years ago when I first met you.
Lifetime ago.
My mind,
so amazing.
and all these years I thought about you, like you were the one teacher that really impacted me so much, because it involved the holistic approach to everything in the way I understood, you know, the lessons that we had to learn and things like that. And it just always stayed with me. It was a different way of learning than what I was used to. That was
well, you must have obviously been wonderful to me, because that particular university, it was pretty 3D and left brain. So obviously.
Yeah, I remember somebody complained because we did a lecture that was brilliant. I mean, I just loved it. And we were talking about the Ark of the Covenant, and this one lady got annoyed and complained to the. So remember that.
One of the few times in my career that's happened, and I thought, whoa, this is what happens when you take this work into mainstream. Because of course I think I've been guided and protected to stay on the edges really most of my life. So that's why the work's been able to develop.
I can assure you that 99% of the class absolutely loved you, and you know, really it made a big impact to us starting out in our field.
Oh, it's so gratifying to hear, because you know, I just plug along, and it's a fairly because apart from the times I'm working in drama schools and, you know, and people just have to sort of deal with what I'm teaching them, and my job's to keep everybody safe, you know, people who seek me out privately are usually people, you know, like you, who really are ready to work. And I mean, I have such huge respect for anybody who gets in a room with me, because apart from our bodies, voice is the other part of us that if we change it, it's visible in the world. If we start stepping into our vocal power, you know, it's like you put on weight or you lose weight, that shows up. But the voice is the next thing that is going to say, hey, I'm different. Hey, I'm vibrating in a different way. And so for people to face those things, it is a real courage. And you are the, you know, you are the embodiment of that for us. So I think, it's a wonderful world.
Thank you so much.
I've loved it, darling. Thank you.
Thanks for talking to me.
And thank you for all your courage. And
111.
It's what?
111.
Oh, yes. Beautiful. Lovely. Yeah, that's a good time. Nice.
All right. We'll end it here, and I'll
keep talking to
you. I'll keep talking to you. I'm just going to press stop. It was wonderful. Thanks, Sylvia.
Bye.